Thank you so much for that very generous introduction. And let me say to Debbie, I know she's really busy, and before she leaves, I was so honored to serve with John Dingell. And when I was sworn in, my father, Stuart Udall, and John Dingell came to the Congress in 1954. So they were in the same class. And when I came and was sworn in 1999, they allow former members to come onto the floor. So you go onto the floor to be sworn in, and on my right, sitting with me, was John Dingell, and on my left, Stuart Udall. And it was a proud day for me. And I can tell you one thing, the thing John Dingell was the proudest of in his life was that Debbie Dingell is in his congressional seat right now. So give her a round of applause. And thank you for, Debbie, thank you for joining me on the CREATE Act. Really, really appreciate it. I want to say hello to Nancy Stevens, my good friend, and also Shelley, who we were just on a civil rights trip down in Georgia with John Lewis. Let me just, first of all, this is a room always that has a lot of energy on Arts Day. And so I really greet you and say thank you for being here, because it's very, very special that you are here. And what is it about the arts? Well, I think it's the arts bring us together. They connect us as human beings. They show us our similarities, and they celebrate our differences. Another way of looking at it is arts, and my father used to talk a lot about this. He became a good friend with Robert Frost, the poet, and they used to talk about poetry and power going together, and the arts being a civilizing force. You know, I think the arts tell us to put an end to endless wars. I think they tell us to confront injustice, to make a wrong a right. And they tell us to fight for equality for all. Those are just a few of the things that the arts do for us. And Americans for the Arts is a great organization that does really, really important work. So I want to thank Bob Lynch, who introduced me. I've watched him over the years. He's grown enormously, and he's grown into this role. And also Narek Rome. And to your staff for your tireless efforts to bring arts and culture into the lives of everyday Americans, which is what you're doing. Let's give them a big round, Narek and Bob, a big round of applause. Well, now, and I don't mean to get a little partisan here, but I'm just talking the facts, okay? For 2 years in a row, the president tried his best to dismantle the NEA and NEH through his budget requests. 0 is what he put in there. Are we going to fight to support the arts? Yes, we are. Well, the good news is that 2 years in a row, Congress not only ignored his request, we increased the NEA and NEH funding. For fiscal year 2019, each endowment is getting an additional $2.2 million. And I'm proud to continue as the vice chair of the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Interior to shepherd appropriations for the NEA and NEH. And I've worked very well on a bipartisan basis with my chairman, Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, to make sure that our subcommittee's recommendations protect and enhance the budgets for the arts. Thank you. The fact is that supporting the endowments reflects the will of the people. The president is just out of step with what the American people want. The public supports the arts. They support the amazing contributions to their communities that the NEA and NEH make possible through their thousands of grants. They support the incredible breadth and diversity of the arts projects the endowments support. Your advocacy has been absolutely critical to making sure that NEA and NEH are able to continue their missions and continue to receive strong bipartisan support in the Congress where it really counts. And I just say, really, keep up the good work. While the endowment's budgets represent a minuscule part of the federal budget. They reach every corner of our country. NEA, for example, funds almost 2,500 grants annually targeting high poverty in rural areas. There's nothing more special in New Mexico than seeing the symphony go the most rural part of New Mexico to engage citizens. The American people receive a huge bang for their buck for the NEA. Every $1 of the NEA funding leverages $9 in private and public dollars. That's pretty good math, isn't it? Don't you think we're getting a lot by putting that money in there? Let me thank Acting Chair Mary Ann Carter and Chair John Peedy for your leadership. I was here, John, to hear part of your speech, and I'm glad you're there, standing up for the endowment. The vibrancy, the creativity, the inclusivity of the endowments cannot be overstated. Now, Debbie talked about what we're working on together on the CREATE Act. One of my top public policy goals is to expand the creative economy. Arts represent an important economic driver in our nation. This may surprise some of you. It's a $730 billion industry representing 4.2% of the nation's gross domestic product and directly employs 4.8 million people. That's pretty great, isn't it? In my home state of New Mexico, we are very close to 1 in 10 jobs are part of the creative economy. And we have one county with our large Native American population, Zuni, Pueblo, Navajo, that's more than 2 in 10 in terms of the creative economy. So this is big, but I think we can do a lot better. Debbie hit it on the head, so I'm not going to go into length about the CREATE Act, but I want to say 2 things. First of all, the CREATE Act would help artists and art entrepreneurs start and grow businesses by directing federal agencies that work with small businesses to target artists for loans, grants, incubator programs, and technical assistance. These are the programs that have proven success. And the act would create an artist corps. Many of you know all about the Peace Corps. Well, how about having an artist corps that's out in our community working for the arts? Do you remember what FDR did when many of you, if you go home and you look around, there's a WPA building from the 30s and 40s in your community, and usually it has wonderful murals and wonderful art on it. We need to revitalize that idea and have an artist corps. So let's get behind the CREATE Act. When you make your visits, ask everybody to co-sponsor the CREATE Act. Finally, I just want to say, and Narek and Bob know this very well, my wife Jill, who's not able to be here, she's at an arts board meeting right now. She's over at the Hirshhorn Museum. She usually comes with me. She's the real powerhouse in the family when it comes to art. She led the New Mexican Department of Cultural Affairs. She sat on the President's Commission on Arts and Humanity, the President's Commission under President Obama, which had existed for a long, long time, and it no longer exists. The positions have not been filled. So while that's happening, why don't we just create what other countries have done in the world, a minister for arts and culture that's in the cabinet? How about that? Thank you for your work. Great to be here with you today. Knock on those doors, speak with passion, and you're going to get it done. Thank you. Thank you.